One of the more astounding aspects of this is that it's not just people. This comes from the very top, from their political leaders. Just a few days ago, a member of Congress of this body, Ilhan Omar, shared a video on her social media account about Charlie Kirk.
Get ready, patriots, because you're about to see Congressman Brandon Gill ask Kash Patel about an absolutely sick video shared by Ilhan Omar. Folks, it is it's going to make your blood boil, all right? I'll be honest. You'll see what I mean. It kind of made me mad. Try not to get too mad. I know it's hard. It was for me. And with that being said, we're going to get right into it. But first, do me a big favor by liking our video and sharing it around. That way, we can keep bringing you all this great, hard-hitting content. As always, patriots, I'm Rose Darian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
One more member, a few UC requests, and then you can, we'll let you go, but we appreciate that. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you again for taking the time, Director Patel, and for Chairman Jordan for holding this hearing. Thank you for depoliticizing the FBI and getting it back to its original mission as well. Director Patel, do you agree that we have a problem in the United States with politically motivated violence?
Absolutely.
And I very much agree. I think we can all agree that political violence is wrong, it's evil, regardless of which side it comes from, and that we can all adamantly and vehemently reject it, or we certainly should. But one of the things that we've noticed recently is that affinity and tolerance for political violence is not equally distributed on both sides of the aisle. In fact, right now, social media is filled with leftists who are cheering on the murder of an iconic conservative political figure, Charlie Kirk. And it's not just random people on Twitter doing this now. There's a YouGov poll released just a few days ago, which stated that 25% of those who identify as very liberal believe that political violence can sometimes be justified. That's far too many, is it not? It is.
One is far too many.
One is far too many. That's right. Only 3% of very conservatives said the same thing, and we can agree that 3% is far too many. But there's an astounding difference between 25% on the left accepting and tolerating political violence and 3% on the right. I would hope that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle would also recognize that there is a systemic problem on their side of the aisle with tolerance for violence against people with whom they politically disagree.
This is why I can't stand that woke, centrist bull people say of, both sides are just as bad. There's plenty of extremes on both sides. Okay, no, there's not, okay? Obviously, there are people on the right wing who are extreme and terrible in how they behave and whatnot. Duh, okay? Nobody's disputing that. But there are far more rotten apples on the left side of the aisle. This is obvious, okay? Look at Brandon's survey. Just look at free speech. You can safely say, in my view, that the majority of Democrats literally do not believe in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Oh, you can't just say that. What's your evidence? Okay, here's my evidence. There was a YouGov poll on it, and 51% of Democrats reported that they support criminalizing hate speech. It's not a thing, okay? Well, it is a thing in the eyes of Democrats. The definition of hate speech to a leftist is anything a right-winger says that I don't like, which is just about every dang thing imaginable that they might state. It's that simple. So no, both sides are not equally bad. There is a very clear problem here, and it's not most Republicans.
There's a cultural rot on their side of the aisle that needs to be addressed desperately. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
One of the more astounding aspects of this is that it's not just people. This comes from the very top, from their political leaders. Just a few days ago, a member of Congress of this body, Ilhan Omar, shared a video on her social media account about Charlie Kirk's murder, and I'll quote what it said. It said, "Charlie Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein, and his monster shot him through the neck." In other words, Charlie had it coming to him. The words that he said naturally led to his assassination. I mean, that is a reprehensible thing for a member of Congress to say, to suggest, to promote in any capacity.
And not to mention, Ilhan Omar had the absolute gall to go out and make a public speech of sorts where she said that the people who are honoring Charlie Kirk's legacy and saying that he engaged in civil dialogue are hateful and full of shit. Those are both direct quotes. Really? What a despicable thing to say. And I mean, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. My gosh, that's just insane. And I can't be the only one who's sick of immigrants coming here and telling us how to behave and what we should be doing. Hey, Ilhan, go back to Somalia. Okay, what have you been doing here? You can barely speak English, and you're sitting here lecturing Charlie Kirk, an American who's clearly a multi-generational American, about how evil and terrible he is. Get the hell out of our country. It's disgusting. I'm so tired of it.
And there are people across this country who are losing their jobs for far less than this. And that, by the way, is a just response to acceptance and tolerance of political violence. It's amazing to me that the political left today, who were the originators and the cheerleaders of cancel culture, now have the backbone to attack conservatives for defending their assassinated friend.
Yeah.
But there's a key difference here. Democrats want to silence conservatives for speaking obvious, self-evident ontological truths like that men aren't women and men can't get pregnant. That seems pretty basic. That seems like a basic truth that we should all be able to agree on. Republicans, by contrast, are recognizing that a constitutional republic depends on the free and open exchange of ideas that we can debate without violence.
At this point in America's very sad and current history, I say history because one day we're going to look back on this probably in horror, there can be no unity with the way the left thinks. Kirk once said that a liberal defaults to violence and that if given the option, they will pick up the sword. And notice he said liberal, not a leftist. I think that's important to highlight here because at the end of the day, leftism is the logical conclusion of liberalism. People say, well, no, I'm just a liberal. I'm not a leftist. Oh, I believe in the old American values. Like, no, okay, you're pro-abortion, just not as pro-abortion as the far left. You're pro-free speech, but, just not, excuse me. You don't like all speech, but, you're just not as intolerant of the speech as the left wing is. It's all the same thing, all right? They're just starting over here rather than over here. That's really the only difference. Look at all these people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. You have people say, oh, it's the types who are terminally online and all this. No, actually, it's not. It's teachers, nurses, doctors, lawyers. I mean, think about it. Would you trust your kid? Would you want to trust your kid in a public school where a teacher actually thinks it's funny if Charlie Kirk, or rather that Charlie Kirk, lost his life? Do you want let's say, God forbid, you decide that you're going to put a parent in the retirement home because you either can't or don't want to take care of them yourself? Are you going to be at peace when they're with people who want people who have your beliefs, whether it's Christian, conservative, voting Trump, whatever, to die? These are real issues we have to contend with in a society, and it's terrifying. There is a very sizable group, maybe it's a minority, but it's a very sizable minority, if that's the case, of people who believe you don't deserve to be breathing because you don't think in the same sick, left-wing, progressive way they do. That, my friends, is scary.
And that assassinating a political rival is evil, it's wrong, and it should not be glorified or promoted or justified in any way, including in the way that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar did. So Mr. Patel, thank you again for being here. I'd like to, with the remainder of my time, just get your opinion. Does the FBI recognize the rising threat of political violence in America, and what can you guys do to address it?
Yes, we do. And what we can do to address it, Congressman, is we need to get online partnerships with these companies in the public space, on these gaming sites and on these social media sites. As I was saying earlier, there is no way to triage the amount of information generated on these sites by the FBI alone. And we need the public-private partnership. And there's another law that's expiring, I think, at the end of this month, which I believe we need renewed, that allows private sector companies to report into the FBI without liability for criminal investigatory purposes. And that's the kind of stuff we need to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you, Director Patel. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Private-public partnership. What do you guys think about that? I don't know about you, but it rubs me kind of the wrong way. I don't know. I need to learn more about it, I will admit, but we look at Palantir, for example. It's a CIA essentially founded private company from Peter Thiel. They're actually working on making a database that makes Americans' data far more searchable and easily found by FBI, CIA, etc. Let's not forget, these are the same agencies that went after American patriots after January 6th, that whole thing, and they used, you guessed it, the Patriot Act, ironically named, in order to do that largely. So, I don't know. Do we want more of that private partnership where they can track us more deeply? We got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. With all that being said, thank you for tuning in, guys. What'd you think? I want to hear your thoughts on what I said and also just the video in general. Make sure you comment below. Let us know. And if you have not already, hit that subscribe button. And that way, we will see you again soon. God bless.